Did you know that Max Verstappen was close to leaving Red Bull if Christian Horner was sacked? Today, that connection is back in play after the latest rumors rocking the team. Do you think Verstappen should stay if the team continues to decline? Let me know in the comments. In this video, we'll analyze the internal tensions at Red Bull in 2025, the rumors surrounding Christian Horner's departure, and how Max Verstappen has responded to all the pressure. To understand what's really at stake with the rumors surrounding Christian Horner's possible departure and how this could alter Max Verstappen's path in Formula One, we must first put into perspective the critical moment Red Bull is experiencing in the 2025 season. The team, which seemed invincible in recent years, dominating commandingly from 2021 to 2024, has begun this new championship with a significant drop in performance. After just 6 Grands Prix, Red Bull leads neither the Constructors nor the Drivers' Championship. Instead, McLaren and Mercedes have taken the lead, relegating the Austrian team to 3rd place. This abrupt change not only represents a sporting setback, but has also raised alarm bells throughout the paddock, in the media, and most worryingly, within the team itself. The RB21, the car Red Bull is competing with this season, has been a source of concern since preseason testing. This car marks a break with the technical legacy of Adrian Newey, the legendary designer who for years was the mastermind behind the team's aerodynamic dominance. Without his direct influence, the design has fallen entirely in the hands of Pierre Wacht, and the results have not lived up to expectations. The RB21 suffers from aerodynamic efficiency and mechanical balance issues that have particularly affected its performance on demanding circuits like Suzuka and Miami. These technical flaws are not minor. In a category where milliseconds make a difference, any deficiency is costly. The lack of stability in fast corners, sensitivity to changes in downforce, and unpredictable rear-end behavior have made the car unsuitable for Max Verstappen's aggressive and precise driving style. Verstappen, the reigning 4-time F1 champion and a key figure in the team, has only achieved 2 victories so far, one at the Japanese Grand Prix and the other at the Imola Grand Prix. For a driver accustomed to being on the top of the podium race after race, this represents a significant setback. At his side, Yuki Tsunoda, who replaces Sergio Perez as the team's second driver, has failed to establish himself. The Japanese driver is constantly struggling to score points, which demonstrates not only a gap in performance with Verstappen, but also that car problems affect both sides of the garage. This scenario casts doubt on Red Bull's ability to maintain its hegemony and opens the door to uncomfortable questions. Has the team lost its key technical advantage? Is a transition of power to other teams beginning? Added to all this is a factor that, although often unseen on the track, directly influences performance: media pressure. The media has been relentless in its coverage of the crisis. Comparisons with previous years, the exposure of every mistake, and the lack of results have made the atmosphere at Red Bull increasingly tense. And in the midst of a storm, Christian Horner's name has begun to circulate as a possible scapegoat. This is no coincidence. When a successful team starts losing, the blame inevitably arises, and the team principal is at the top of the list. The combination of a substandard car, poor results, pressure from the press, and internal tensions has created a volatile scenario. And while from the outside it might seem like just a bad run, those who follow Formula One closely know that situations like this can trigger drastic decisions. It's no longer just about scoring points in the next races, but about preventing internal cracks from becoming irreparable fractures. Once we understand the critical context facing Red Bull in the 2025 season, it's inevitable to turn our attention to the hottest topic of the moment: the growing rumors about Christian Horner's possible departure as team principal. What began as a marginal murmur in certain sectors of the Austrian press has become a constant echo resonating throughout the Formula One paddock. Media outlets such as Klein Zeitung even claim that if Red Bull didn't show an immediate improvement in its performance, especially after the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix, the team's top management would be seriously considering a replacement for Horner. This statement, although denied by internal team sources, has been enough to spark a far-reaching debate. It's not just about the future of a key figure in the recent history of motorsport, but also about the possible breaking point in a structure that has been synonymous with success and stability for almost 2 decades. The figure of Christian Horner is complex. He has been Red Bull's only team principal since its entry into F1 in 2005. Under his leadership, the team has won multiple Constructors and Drivers' Championships, with two clearly defined golden eras, that of Sebastian Vettel between 2010 and 2013, and that of Max Verstappen starting in 2021. His tenure has been recognized for its combination of tactical decisiveness and political diplomacy within the Formula One ecosystem. However, his prolonged tenure has also generated friction, internal rivalries, and a power structure that some consider overly personalized. In this sense, rumors of his possible departure point not only to a reaction to current poor results, but also to accumulated tensions within the team, both at the technical and administrative levels. What makes matters worse is that this is not the first time Horner has been embroiled in controversies of this nature. In 2024, he was the subject of an investigation for alleged misconduct, a scandal that was ultimately shelved due to lack of evidence, but which left deep scars on the team's internal relations. His relationship with Helmut Marko, a senior advisor at Red Bull and a trusted figure in Verstappen's entourage, was clearly strained. Although the crisis was officially over, in practice it exposed a fracture at the core of the team's decision-making. Now, with results declining, that fracture is reopening, and rumors of Horner's departure are resurfacing with force, as if they had never disappeared. However, beyond the speculation, what gives these rumors weight is their persistence and the context in which they appear. Unlike previous years, where any hint of a change in the team's direction was quickly discredited by overwhelming results on the track, today the landscape is very different. Red Bull no longer dominates as it once did, and the sporting vulnerability fuels the narrative that change is needed to get back on track. Even if the rumors lack solid foundation, as Max Verstappen himself maintains, public and media perception have a real impact. In a sport where image and stability are almost as important as technical performance, the idea that Horner could be on the ropes is beginning to take on a strategic dimension. Official statements attempt to calm the waters. Red Bull GmbH, the team's corporate parent company, has reiterated that Christian Horner has the full support of management. In fact, it is known that he signed a contract extension that binds him to the team until 2030, which in theory should dispel any doubts about his continued presence. However, contracts in Formula One are rarely synonymous with absolute guarantees. The history of the sport is full of examples in which long-term contracts were abruptly terminated in the face of negative results or internal pressure. It is precisely this latent fragility that keeps the rumor alive, no matter how firm the official version seems. Moreover, at a time when rival teams are on the lookout, any sign of instability at Red Bull is perceived as an opportunity. Both Mercedes and Aston Martin are closely monitoring not only the performance of the RB21, but also any signs of fracture within the team structure. Horner's continuity, therefore, is no longer just an internal matter, but a factor that can influence the driver market, team morale, and the strategic decisions of its rivals. It is precisely this complexity that makes the rumors more than just headlines. They are indicators of a possible profound reconfiguration within a team that until recently seemed unbreakable. Red Bull's official reaction to the rumors surrounding Christian Horner's departure has been clear and forceful, denying all speculation and reaffirming its confidence in the leadership that has guided the team since its founding. However, beyond the corporate statements, what truly sustains this narrative is the public support of its most influential figure, Max Verstappen. The Dutch driver, beyond his on-track achievements, has become a central piece of a team's political and strategic structure. His word not only carries media weight, but can also alter internal decisions, influence negotiations, and, as he has previously demonstrated, define the team's immediate future. Therefore, when Verstappen speaks, he does so not just as another driver, but as the authoritative voice of the man who has been, in recent years, the competitive soul of Red Bull racing. In a press conference prior to the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix, Max was direct, precise, and somewhat awkward in his response to the rumors surrounding Horner. His response, though calm, was a clear message to the media and to everyone inside and outside the paddock waiting for an internal breakdown. Honestly, I don't know where these stories come from. As a team, we are not satisfied with our performance, but that has nothing to do with Christian. We continue to work together to improve the car. These words, while seemingly a simple defense, contains several layers of meaning. On the one hand, they reinforce the idea of unity in times of crisis, something fundamental in a sport where group cohesion can make the difference between recovery or collapse. On the other, they convey that Verstappen not only supports Horner, but considers him an active part of the solution, not the problem. It's a statement that, in essence, seeks to nip in the bud any attempt to establish a narrative that casts doubt on the team's direction. However, for those who follow F1 closely, this support is nothing new. In 2024, when the investigation into alleged misconduct against Horner erupted, it was Verstappen himself who set a clear line. If his team principal was removed from his position without conclusive evidence, he would seriously consider continuing with the team. That gesture, which many considered a bold move, ended up being key to Horner's continued position amid the scandal. Beyond ethical or contractual reasons, what became clear was the close bond between the two, a bond that transcends the track. Verstappen's loyalty became a political guarantee, a balancing factor within a team that was beginning to show internal fissures. That relationship, based on years of shared success, remains in place in 2025, although the landscape has changed profoundly. Verstappen's current support can also be interpreted as a way to preserve stability at a time when any misstep could worsen the crisis. Without the results it once had, with a car that doesn't respond, and a second driver unit that offers no guarantees, Red Bull needs strong leadership, but also a coherent narrative. If Horner represents the continuity of the project and Verstappen supports him, any attempt to introduce radical changes, such as replacing the team principal in the middle of the season, can be perceived as an act of desperation. And in a sport as exposed to public perception as Formula One, the image of lack of control can have direct consequences both on performance and on the market for sponsors, engineers, and even drivers. But not everything is so clear. Although Verstappen defends Horner and reinforces his leadership, his words also reveal a certain tension. In that same press conference, the Dutchman uttered a phrase that did not go unnoticed. "When you lose, everyone looks for someone to blame, but at Red Bull we know the problems are technical, not managerial." It's a line that, while directly exonerating Horner, also acknowledges that within the team there is an internal search for responsibility. He doesn't say it explicitly, but he suggests there are voices, perhaps within Red Bull itself, pointing the finger at the team's management. His message serves as a warning: don't lose focus on the essentials, that the solution lies in improving the car, not in changing the team's top brass. These kinds of statements also serve as a tool for exerting pressure. Verstappen knows full well that his support doesn't come without a price. Red Bull needs his talent, but also his image, his voice, and his influence. And he, in turn, needs a team willing to respond quickly, one that offers him competitive guarantees, one that doesn't get bogged down in political decisions while rivals advance. Therefore, his stance can also be interpreted as a way of setting boundaries. He's with Horner, yes, but he demands that the technical problems be resolved as soon as possible. And if that doesn't happen, the same pressure tools he uses today to defend the director could be used in the opposite direction. Because, although he has reiterated his commitment to Red Bull, his exit clause based on the team's performance remains in place. And if the project loses direction, Max could reconsider his place in the structure. While Christian Horner's continued tenure as Red Bull team principal continues to be publicly supported by the top management and, so far, by Max Verstappen, it is essential to explore what his eventual departure could truly mean. In an environment as competitive, technical, and politically sensitive as Formula One, a change of leadership is not simply a change of name on an office nameplate. It is a profound alteration in the operational, emotional, and strategic dynamics of a team. Horner's figure is so deeply rooted in the structure of Red Bull that his departure could generate a domino effect, impacting everything from internal morale to on-track results, including the connection between Verstappen and the project. Therefore, the simple consideration of his replacement should not be underestimated. It is not just about replacing a manager, but about facing the consequences of moving a cog that has served as a linchpin in the machine for 2 decades. One of the most immediate repercussions would be the destabilization of the competitive environment that Max Verstappen has known throughout his golden era. For an elite driver, the trust in his surroundings is almost as important as the speed of the car. Horner has been a constant in Max's career since becoming team leader. He's been there not only to make sporting decisions, but also to create an atmosphere where the Dutchman could focus solely on performing at his highest level. Horner's departure would mean the breakdown of that environment, which could affect Verstappen's focus and comfort. In high-performance sports, even seemingly external changes can trigger a cascade of internal insecurity that translates into tenths of a second lost, strategic errors, or hasty decisions. And in a championship where the margins are so narrow, those consequences can be lethal. Furthermore, a change in management could mean the arrival of a new organizational vision, bringing with it a restructuring of positions, a different technical philosophy, or even a different way of managing media pressure and internal relations. This could lead to the departure of key figures who have worked closely with Horner and who understand how the team works from the inside. In a world as interdependent as modern Formula One, losing valuable personnel is not only a technical risk, but also a loss of culture, accumulated experience, and cohesion. Teams don't win championships by having a single brilliant player, but by knowing how to integrate diverse talents under clear leadership. Appending that balance can create chaos, even in a structure as professionalized as Red Bull's. On the other hand, there is the impact this would have on the driver market. Verstappen, although publicly committed to the team, has an exit clause that is activated if certain scenarios of poor performance or structural instability arise. Horner's possible departure would undoubtedly be one of those triggers. Max has made no secret that his loyalty to the team is closely tied to his trust in the current leadership, and the loss of that figure could prompt a reconsideration of his future. Teams like Mercedes and Aston Martin are attentive to any sign of a rupture within Red Bull. Both teams have expressed interest in the Dutchman and have both the resources and the technical project to tempt him. In a context where Red Bull's current project is entering a transition phase, with the departure of Adrian Newey and the upcoming change of engine supplier in 2026, the loss of stability could open a door that, until recently, seemed completely closed. Horner's departure would also have medium and long-term technical implications. Red Bull is immersed in the development of the 2026 engine with Ford, an ambitious project that will require clear direction, quick decision-making, and coordination between technical, commercial, and corporate departments. Changing the leader in the middle of this critical stage could slow down key processes, hinder communication with new partners, and jeopardize the team's future competitiveness. Let's not forget that, in Formula One, championships begin to be built 2 or 3 years in advance. Planning for 2026 is already underway, and any distraction in the present could translate into insurmountable disadvantages when the time comes to compete under the new technical regulations. The external perception of the team must also be considered. Red Bull has built a powerful brand, not only for its results, but also for its image of unity, consistency, and responsiveness. Horner's departure in the middle of the season, amid rumors and internal tensions, would project an image of instability that could negatively impact relationships with sponsors, technical partners, and future talents considering joining the team. In an industry where trust in the project is as important as the financial contract, signs of weakness can be costly, not only financially but also in terms of credibility.